All right, let's start with a deep dive into some of the biggest names in the industry and their recent performance as the post-COVID landscape takes shape. First, let's talk about Pfizer, because they've really made an impression with their numbers. Even if we completely exclude their COVID-19 products, Pfizer managed to grow their operational revenues by a very solid 12% last year. And a significant driver here is their acquisition of Seagen, which added $3.4 billion to the top line. No small feat. But beyond just Seagen, Pfizer's base business is thriving too. For instance, Wyndaqel, their heart disease treatment, jumped by 30%, and their anticoagulant Eliquis saw a nice 13% boost. These are essentially the kinds of blockbuster drivers they're banking on moving forward. At the same time, they're clearly trimming the fat to improve profitability. They've revised their cost-cutting goal to $4.5 billion in net savings by 2025, up from $4 billion originally. It seems like all these efforts are about building a post-pandemic identity, making strategic moves to boost their margins while driving growth. Now, if we shift gears a bit, let's look at Merck. Their story is, well, a little less dramatic, but it's still important. For 2024, they posted steady, if not spectacular, growth in the range of 5 to 7%, bringing their full-year sales to $64.2 billion globally. But make no mistake, their real star continues to be Keytruda. It brought in nearly $30 billion, growing by 18%, which is honestly astounding for a single product. They're not resting easy, though. They're investing heavily into expanding Keytruda's reach, running over 800 clinical trials to explore combinations with new therapies like T-cell redirectors and even cancer vaccines. You might call it safeguarding their lead in immuno-oncology. That said, their broader pipeline has been sort of hit or miss. Sure, they've had some successes like Winrevair for asthma, which posted strong early sales upwards of $400 million, but there have been occasional soft spots too, such as Gardasil, which actually saw its sales dip by 3% last year. Yet Merck is clearly focused on balancing reliance on their flagships with a reset of sorts, reprioritizing clinical programs to shore up their future bets. And finally, let's not forget Novartis, which seems to be capitalizing on a very well thought out strategy. For 2024, their net sales soared 12%, and their core operating income grew even faster, up 22%. A couple of stellar performers drove that. Entresto, their treatment for heart failure, grew a striking 31%, hitting $7.8 billion in sales. Meanwhile, Kesimpta, which targets multiple sclerosis, surged an incredible 49%. And then there's Kisqali, a breast cancer therapy, which also stood out with a 49% increase to bring in $3 billion. It's clear that Novartis is focusing heavily on emerging areas like neuroscience and oncology, areas with unmet need and long-term growth potential. Of course, they're not immune to challenges like loss of exclusivity. Established top sellers like Gilenya are feeling pressure from generics. But Novartis, has been incredibly proactive in building out their early-stage pipeline to offset this. And their strategic targeting of neuroscience and oncology is setting them up not just to weather these storms, but to thrive. Now let's dive into something that's reshaping the entire industry. Activity. I mean, just look at Pfizer's $43 billion acquisition of Seagen. It's not just a move to bolster their oncology portfolio, it's fundamentally about reimagining their innovation pipeline as they face those upcoming patent cliffs. By buying Seagen, Pfizer has essentially acquired access to antibody-drug conjugate technology, which honestly could be pivotal for targeting cancers in a way that's way more precise and effective than before. It's not just about approved therapies, this is an investment in a differentiated future. And you see a similar storyline with Amgen, which made waves last year by acquiring Horizon Therapeutics for $28 billion. Horizon's unique autoimmune disease treatments, like Tepezza and Krystexxa, help Amgen diversify while addressing significant areas of unmet need. Again, it's not just about the products today, it's about, filling those gaps where therapeutic demand is growing. But with these types of mega deals comes a fair share of risk, doesn't it? Companies have to tread carefully when integrating these acquisitions, because if post-merger implementation falters, the synergies that everyone expects can evaporate. From my own consulting experiences, I've seen plenty of organizations trip up when aligning cultures and ensuring seamless portfolio integration. For instance, merging our teams, or navigating overlapping product pipelines. It's a lot messier than it looks from the outside. It requires, honestly, this razor-sharp focus on execution. And that's something both Pfizer and Amgen will really need to master as they absorb these massive deals. At a higher level, though, this M-frenzy points to a broader trend. Companies are racing to integrate advanced technologies and address those critical therapeutic gaps, especially in areas like oncology, neurology, and immunology. I mean, the stakes are incredibly high, right? As these deals get bigger and bolder, it'll be interesting to see how factors like market volatility and rising debt costs shape the next wave of biopharma consolidation strategies. Let's zoom out now and discuss how technology and innovation are driving the next frontier of pharmaceutical breakthroughs. One of the most game-changing forces in this space is AI. I've got to say, it's no longer about hypothetical applications. We're like seeing real-world results now. Take generative chemistry, for instance. AI algorithms are creating entirely new molecular structures, things that medicinal chemists might never conceive of otherwise. Companies like Exscientia are pioneering this kind of work, enabling faster drug discovery that's far more targeted. On top of that, AI is transforming clinical trials. Think about synthetic control arms replacing traditional placebo groups. It cuts down on patient recruitment times and ethical challenges. Or adaptive study designs that respond to real-world evidence as the trial evolves. It's simply incredible how this technology is reshaping the research roadmap. Now, speaking of precision, the shift toward personalized medicine is really picking up steam, especially in oncology. We're seeing these super-targeted therapies emerging, like drugs that zero in on specific genetic mutations within cancer cells. What's exciting here is the potential to combine this precision approach with AI-powered diagnostics, making treatments more effective and accessible. And it's spilling over into neurology too. Think Alzheimer's treatments focused on earlier intervention using biomarker diagnostics. These advancements could be, transformative for how we treat complex diseases. And we can't ignore the booming metabolic health space. GLP-1 therapies like Novo Nordisk's Wegovy and Lilly's Mounjaro are completely rewriting the playbook for obesity treatment. The sheer potential here. We're talking about scalable solutions for a global health crisis. And what really excites me is how companies are now exploring oral formulations and combination therapies to make these treatments even more effective and accessible. Looking further ahead, global market projections suggest the pharmaceutical industry could surpass $3 trillion in annual sales by 2034, an impressive growth trajectory fueled by aging populations, rising chronic disease incidence, and increased demand for innovative therapies in emerging markets. But at the same time, there are challenges. Payers are imposing stricter cost controls, and government interventions like Medicare drug price negotiations are looming large. It's clear pharma companies will need to prove their value more than ever, delivering therapies that truly move the needle for patients, both clinically and economically. And on that note, I think it's safe to say we're witnessing one of the most transformative periods in the industry's history. From AI redefining discovery to precision medicine, delivering tailored solutions and markets growing in scale, yet demanding greater efficiencies. It's certainly a dynamic landscape. And that's all for today. Thanks for joining me on this journey through pharma's evolving strategies and innovations. I'm Ian Garwick, and I'll catch you next time. Stay curious.